Welcome to the MadTrio podcast. This week we have the California Pariah, Jonathan Charney, James the Fat Man Stevens, Ryan, who the fuck is that, Preston, and Rob, the old guy.
The old guy's here.
Loose lips sink ships. Don't talk today. If you must talk, step up and say, Burma shave.
So we're doing spots for
companies that no longer exist.
Don't exist anymore. Yeah.
Well,
I thought we were doing just straight up like communist propaganda. You know, if you see something, say something.
That might be next. John might be doing that next.
Well, that's actually quasi why I did it, because I've been re-listening to the audiobook by E.B. Sledge. It's gone on Okinawa and Peleliu on the Pacific Theater in World War II. So it kind of reminded me when I saw that of that, and I said couldn't resist.
I actually had met a guy about 4 months ago, came into my office, making some arrangements, who was at the Battle of Peleliu.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And the guy just like breaks into the story. I mean, it was one of these old guys who, you know, fucking God bless him, just want to chat with somebody, you know, who starts telling me about how his kids think he's a piece of shit, you know, because he was kind of a bit of a son of a bitch, his words, you know, when his kids were growing up, but, you know, he had, you know, been in war, and I guess he had, you know, got a Purple Heart for that battle. According to him, got bayoneted to a tree.
Ouch.
Which, you know, and he's starting to give me like I'm sorry if I'm taking up your time. I'm like, dude, you had me hooked with bayoneted to a tree. Like, feel free to talk as much as you want, man.
Really,
so do you have Audible, Ryan?
I do. Yeah.
So I'll forward you the link to this. It's by E.B. Sledge. And it's
what else has he done? I know that author.
He did another book, I guess a sequel that I just found, talking about later on in the war. And apparently the Pacific, the HBO Pacific, that was like the Band of Brothers, apparently is partially based off of that one in another book.
Okay.
And he was one of the few people who were in both battles who never got injured at all.
That's crazy.
And it's just, I've listened to it. This is the second full time through. And it's just an amazing book. If anybody's interested in a little bit of history, I recommend that one. And if you ever have a lot of free time, Rise and Fall, the Third Reich is amazing. I got to warn you, it's a tad bit dry, but it's super fascinating. And we're going to completely switch topics to something kind of random. Doctor Who will no longer use a police box for the TARDIS.
Oh, you got it.
What
kidding.
On earth are they planning on using?
I heard about that.
So this is on giantfreakingrobot.com, one of my favorite ones. So apparently the TARDIS has been one of the most defining symbols of the Doctor Who franchise for over half a century. It has become so iconic that it has actually eclipsed its original inspiration, a 1960s London police box. So basically, it says later on in the article, because of potentially of how the police are viewed and yada yada.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Come on.
So, all the way to Great Britain with this bullshit?
Those is rumor that the TARDIS's famous police box visage is under threat due to how police are perceived within the public. Exactly how and when, where the YouTuber Noel required this information. So it's like second or third hand information, but it is possible. Now, this comes back to me being a purist, because this is one of 3 movie news I'm going to talk about, that keep it to the inspiration. Now, there was in the Tom Baker? I think it's the Tom Baker era, where they actually talk about how the TARDIS had the ability via the chameleon circuit or something that actually changed its exterior of it. Now, the only question of that, it's been the police box for 50 freaking years.
Yeah, I thought the way they did it was the way they could make somebody perceive what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's bigger on the inside.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, even if it isn't a police box, I mean, that was my thought. But anyway, I don't know. Amazing.
And technically speaking, it's smaller on the outside.
Gee.
And
thanks for clearing that one up.
And the other one under the, that's surprising. Apparently they're turning the new Doctor Who, who's a lady, they're turning into her gay, which is not really a big surprise, but it was
that is kind of a surprise, because the Doctor is like the most asexual fucking character on TV that I can think of.
The Doctor technically likes women, so even if he switches to a woman,
he'll still like women. I like that, James. Good point.
So It's canon.
That's the most.
I suppose.
That's
Good,
the
yeah.
most logical argument I've heard
You
for
got it.
any switching.
James wins.
And the other
You know
one,
what? I'll tell you what too. With the new season, I don't know how much you guys have caught up on the new season at all with the Lady Doctor. I really, really, really like the Lady Doctor. She's fucking awesome. She nails the fucking aloof character. I mean, she's making it her own. Obviously, every Doctor, every iteration has done their own sort of unique spin, which it comes with the territory. So you don't want them to be like previous Doctors. You want them to be their own thing. I'll tell you what, though, where the show has lost me is that she apparently has like 92 different fucking companions now. It used to be they had one, maybe one and a half.
She has an army?
You know, I'm telling you, dude. Legitimately, there's, I think, 4 companions. No, there's 3 companions, like 3 full-time companions. There used to be 4, but one died. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But yeah, weird.
Yeah.
And
I must
I'm
have
going to
missed
leave you for
that
a
one.
second because I'm a boss cat.
so she's, was it polyamory? More than one partner?
Polyamorous?
That's it. Where'd Ryan go?
Oh.
Oh, he came in, did the spoiler, and left. I like that.
So there is something that we've talked about in the past, and I am not sure. I don't know if this is good or bad. This really depends on how this is done within the universe it takes place in. So James Bond is no longer a male. The character, new Bond 007, haters be damned, is an African-American woman or African lady, black chick, or I don't know where, she's black. I don't know what country she's from, so she can't be African-American if I don't know if she's American. British American, British, black, fuck it, you know what I mean. This PC is confusing as hell. Her name is, let's see, when the rumors began circulating that Captain Marvel star Lashana Lynch, Lashana. My apologies if I butchered your name. Lynch will be taking the title of 007, the next James Bond movie. The response from the loud minority of online trolls, who both disgusting and dishearteningly through nothing have been confirmed, far right talks, yada, yada, yada. And this was in an Esquire, so of course there's going to be BS. No, so I actually don't care if it's actually what it says. If she's taken over the role of 007, I can cool. If she's not James Bond or Jane's Bond, or if that's not her so-called is, as long as,
Bond?
Yeah, as long as she's a different character and she's just a 007, within that universe, I'm 100% cool with it. I don't know if it'll do well. I really don't. But I'm cool with that. My only issue originally was when I heard they were going to possibly have an African-American gentleman do it is I have an issue with him being James Bond because when that universe, the story I heard was, oh, James Bond is just a cover story. That really bothers me. Now I think you could probably have a black guy named James Bond. I think you're going to have a problem with the fans who are purists of the source material.
Well, and so of course he's supposed to be British, and I think that fits more into what we're looking for a Brit as far as the name James Bond goes. So that part doesn't bother me. I think that if they just go with now 007 is, and I hope they don't do something stupid like Jane Bond, and just give her a completely different name, let her have the number, and let them finally catch up to the backstory of how you become a number, and maybe they'll do something like that, and then it's just, oh, all right, so she's now.
Yeah,
she's now 007. Maybe she was 008 before,
or she's a new 00. Maybe James Bond retired and she just fit in the slot. Maybe it's not exactly 1 through 8 or 1 through 10.
And that's one of the things they don't cover in the movies. I don't think at all is exactly as how do you get your 00 number, and
I'm totally cool with that. Like, if they're doing it this way, like this our Esquire article says, I'm cool with it because, like you said, 00 is just a number. It's not.
No, I think that'd be perfectly fine, and they can name her anything they want. I think it would be great, actually, to have a female 00. I think it would be really, really cool. I'm totally for it.
I don't know. Cool. Cool for me depends on how they actually introduce the character. And I realize I'm talking about James Bond, who goes from as serious to Daniel Craig to as wacky as the 80s.
It's been all over the place. So I don't think it matters.
So I
really don't think it matters.
I do think for the audience, and I do think for the ones who are diehard Bond fans, I think it depends on how you introduce her. If her name's like, say, Naomi Watts, and she just happens to be a 007, I think that's perfect. She's a real person, not a fake Bond. She has a 007. You give her an actual decent backstory that's different than James Bond. And I think that's fine. But I think you have to, within that universe, you have to make her real. It's the old wrestling bit. If you base it in some sort of reality, people are going to accept it. If it's goofy as all hell, nobody's going to like it.
I guess we'll see.
James?
Okay.
Did we just completely lose Ryan?
I think we might have lost Ryan completely. Honestly, I've lost all interest in canon for the Bonds. I mean, whatever they want to do, I don't really care anymore, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not far behind you.
I mean, I used to be a big fan of them, but, it's just, I don't know. I mean,
I like Daniel Craig.
They were cool growing up. I liked like you, I like Daniel Craig as well. But as far as storyline to it, I mean, there really was never a really good continuous storyline throughout the movies.
Well, there was within each actor who played the Bond, there was some loose individual ties between the movies, except for George Lazenby.
Like, you really got to stretch that loose part out, John, because I mean, there really wasn't like, a continuation of one story to the other. I mean, there was, the character that was the only basically standard thing of it. A womanizer who, basically drank heavy despite which character it was in. And, he had some cool gadgets, went on an adventure, and that was the end of that story. And then you go to the next one, and it's the same thing, He goes on basically adventure, has a good time. That's it. I mean, there's no real, like, oh, this major bad guy keeps appearing. I mean, there was Jaws, but, even still, that wasn't...
He was a henchman. He wasn't
always
a main character.
Yeah.
See, that's one of the things I like about the Bond movies. I mean, there's some continuation within each individual, when one movie to the next, but they're self-contained stories. I personally think we're so caught up in having every movie connect to the next movie, connect to the next movie. I think sometimes there's some uniqueness about movies that are lost. That's one of the reasons the Marvel movies slightly bug me.
But that's what I'm saying is, like, I'm not really bothered by them going to a female 007 because all it really is just a spy movie. So she's just another spy.
So what if they call her Jane Bond?
I don't care.
See, that part for me, I'm still not just a purist as I want her to have an actual backstory, mainly because I think if you're introducing a new character, it has to matter. I actually think it's kind of shitty for the actress just to play, a female James Bond if she's not her own character.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what you're expecting it to be. I mean, do you expect her to try to portray it like she's a female Sean Connery, a female Roger Moore, a female Daniel Craig? I would rather her just do her own thing in the Bond universe. That's it.
Well, that's what
all I care about.
That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping, but I'm expecting I'm expecting them to make her like a female Sean Connery. And I was hoping Ryan would be here for this, but since he's taking his damn time, one of the reasons we haven't done show in a couple of weeks, we had a power outage up here because of PG&E, had some technical issues, and I had some personal stuff to take care of last week. In the span of the 3 weeks we've had a temporary time off period, 2 people have died. One being a legendary actor who happened to be the first person who played Bond. And all of a sudden I completely forgot his name. Sean Connery.
We just said it.
I know. That's why I'm like, what the heck?
5 minutes ago.
Sean Connery passed away.
Sir
Sean Connery. And I just heard that his ashes are going back to Scotland. He had not been back to Scotland since he left. And his promise was, I think, after, only way he'll go back is if their own independent country or something like that. There was a specific reason. I don't remember what. So he's going to be buried in Scotland. And one of my all-time favorite game show hosts, a man who literally I grew up with watching on television. Alex Trebek passed away. And he is an old school game show host. Did game shows way beyond Jeopardy, like Classic Concentration and farther back if you go into it. I'm really bummed because he's one of the few guys that nobody's ever said anything bad of. Like, I've heard people say Sajak was a raging alcoholic, which, depending on what area you're in, it was true.
Yeah, but he's one of the very few conservative people in Hollywood, though. So I'll give him a pass on the alcohol.
Oh yeah, I mean that just happens.
Let it go.
That just happens to be your proclivity.
I would be drinking too if I was a conservative in Hollywood.
But Alex Trebek, that kind of bummed me out, especially because he died from pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear it too, and I hopefully his last days were in pain, because that is one of the problems with pancreatic cancer. However, he still had a good run. I mean, he's 80 years old. You know, and I can say that as the old guy.
If I was 16, I'd say, "Oh, that's pretty good." I mean, that's a long time from now. But being halfway there, I'm like, "Fuck, that's
hey, buddy,
that's pretty close."
A lot closer than halfway there. So,
well, I know. I'm just
pipe down.
No
squirt,
Sonny. I am kind of bummed. One of the reasons is I hope Jeopardy will continue. Now, it probably will, and it just comes down, I think, if they keep the formula there and they still make it as, basically it's Jeopardy with a different host, I think it'll be perfect. Because I think the formula they had was the one everybody wants to watch.
So they said the same thing when they were replacing Art Fleming. Now, I grew up with listening to Art Fleming do Jeopardy. And I thought he was great. I thought he did a wonderful job. Now, ratings-wise, he didn't do as well. And the show actually wasn't that successful.
Under the original host?
Art Fleming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it took Trebek to really bring it back. And
I'm curious on why.
He had a lot to do with the show's success in the last, 15 years.
30 years.
Well, in the last 15, it's really, really picked up audience
wow
viewership and really became kind of the mainstay. It always was a little bit in the background, and you had a lot of shows that came at it, like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and all these other shows that supposedly wanted to try to take a run at Jeopardy, and it never worked. Jeopardy is Jeopardy, and it's going to be difficult to I don't care what kind of show you try to put up against it, it's going to be difficult. And you got to understand too, Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune were a packaged deal with Merv Griffin. He kind of designed both shows to go both together and be together, and that's why they've been together for the last couple of decades as a package. It was always Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think they'll do fine. I think the only thing is you have the fact you got a new host. You have that trial period. It's like switching from Johnny Carson to Leno. I think you're going to lose some audience, but I think once people get in the flow of it, it's going to be good. Screw the new guy. I'm not a big fan, but mainly because, the new guy, you talked about the Jimmy. I don't like his interview style.
He's a performer more than he is an interviewer.
And that's why.
And that's the difference. And that's what that show kind of misses under him but he's a skill in singing, in impressions, in skits and all that. They're fantastic. But as an interviewer,
Jay Leno has a very laid back interview style. Now, I actually think Johnny Carson's kind of a combination of, if you compare modern hosts of Jimmy Fallon and Leno, because Johnny Carson was really good at the skits.
Yeah, but he was a complete comedian.
Yeah, no, true.
A big difference. And
Jay Leno was just a comedian.
Yeah. And to me, they'll never be. I love Johnny Carson, and if you look back at any of his shows, you can get all the best ofs Johnny Carson. You will spend the whole hour or more, or whatever it is, laughing, literally just laughing, because they're just incredible.
So I recently discovered it's Pluto.tv. It's a app, right? It's an ad-supported
right
web app for
Yeah.
IPTV. They have a Johnny Carson channel. It's 24 hours of Johnny Carson television, from beginning to end of the Tonight Show. You guys got to watch it because some of it, I think just because the age does not necessarily work with modern time, but if you watch Johnny Carson, he's amazing. And some of the guests, especially if you got any of the Rat Pack members and Bob Hope and the old school comedians, they're hilarious.
Yeah, I think what's happening is we're starting to age out on the audience that watches Johnny Carson. But there's still enough people around that either remember him or know of him and realize what a genius he really was in making the Tonight Show what it really is. So that's my opinion. Johnny Carson is the best. Now he took over from Steve. Oh Lord,
Allen?
Steve Allen. Steve Allen? No, Steve.
Yeah. No, I don't think it was Steve Allen.
Yeah, maybe it was.
Was that?
So somebody hit
got me curious.
hit Google and take a look. But anyway, and talking about it, that was complete. Again, a complete difference in personality and style. And so
Steve Allen.
Yeah.
So the program the principal has had 6 principal hosts in its history. Steve Allen from 45 to 57, Jack Parr from 57 to 62, Johnny Carson from 62 to 92, Jay Leno from 92 to 2014, Conan O'Brien from 2010 2009 to 2010.
If you blinked.
Jimmy Fallon from 2014 and on. So I guess he took it over from Jack Parr.
Jack Parr, yeah.
That's P-A-A-R.
Yeah, I forgot about Jack Parr. And Jack Parr was, unfortunately, was a bit forgettable, to be honest with you. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't a Johnny Carson.
I wonder if any of those...
He wasn't a Steve Allen.
I wonder if any of those actual episodes with Steve Allen and Jack Parr exist.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Because a lot of those shows back in the day just... either they're one-time broadcasts or because tape was just so expensive, if it existed, it got recorded. It's like a lot of the live NASA footage got re-recorded because they were trying to save money. Nobody ever thought that, some person 90 years from now is going to want to see the original unedited, non-televised footage. But however, a lot of it's saved because of television. So yeah.
Anyway, so Johnny Carson channel. How on Pluto? Pluto. Okay.
I was hoping Ryan would be back. I'm really tempted just to harass him because now it says 24 minutes of him just,
He might have got a business call, being honest with you. I mean, but
the phone, it still says 24 minutes of him being on the phone.
Oh.
And for a bit.
Is he muted? Is your phone
for
muted?
Us?
No, it's not muted.
Huh.
Yeah. So I'm assuming he might have forgotten or maybe he switched, but I just think it's funny. It's still going.
Well,
so
hang up and call him back.
Why not?
Yeah. So, hey.
I'm kind of bummed about Sean Connery, mainly because one of my favorite roles is a role he didn't really like. It's actually the role that caused him to quit acting, was the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
I thought he was good. I can't believe he didn't like that.
He didn't like the experience. He said, I don't remember what, but there was something about it that just made him quit acting for good.
I like that movie. Oh, wow. Too bad.
Because I love the combination of all the old-time movie monsters and Dorian Gray, and
yeah,
I thought it was perfect. Rolling.
Are we waiting to see a friend?
I just want to see if he answered. I bet he got to work. Something's going on, or not.
Well, he did say that it was slow. So
yeah, he did say it was slow. Maybe it picked up all of a sudden.
So that's hope. I don't have to edit that last section out.
Why?
You didn't get the whole name. Don't worry about it.
So, okay, this is just going to be a quickie because I posted it and I don't remember this. So in the movie Pearl Harbor, Dory Miller, Cuba Gooding Jr., is a mess man with no formal rifle training, runs to an open anti-aircraft gun, shoots down multiple Japanese airplanes.
That really happened.
Then pulls out wounded sailors through 400 yards of flaming wreckage to safety. It feels like a typical corny Hollywood theatrics, except the fact that it's real and happened exactly like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love stuff like that because it's kind of forgotten heroes of history.
Were people saying that it was crap? I mean, just curious.
I think what I heard was people, that's not plausible. There's a lot of people that said that. No, that wouldn't happen. That's not plausible. Problem was it really did happen.
Yeah.
Well, I think also part of it was the fact that it seems unlikely. It's so Hollywood because it's kind of a typical shtick. You know, this guy runs to save people. You know, it is kind of an old bit in Hollywood.
Yeah, but I mean, besides the fact that they did a terrible job with the movie Pearl Harbor, there was a lot of truth in what happened.
Right.
A lot of that really actually happened. Now,
they took
with
World
the
War
movie
II.
Pearl Harbor
They turned it
was
into a
the
love
fact-
story.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They added so much stuff that didn't need to be in there. Now, granted, was there a love story that happened in World War II? There was hundreds, probably thousands of love stories that happened because they were thinking they were going to die, so they went out and got laid. So, I mean, part of it, but, you know, I mean, it didn't need to be in there. They didn't need to, you know, do the Hollywood trying to get some chick to not be bored by a war movie, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe. Huh.
I don't know what their logic was, but that part ruined the movie. You know?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, a lot of the stuff that happened, the sailors that died trapped in ships actually happened. The rescues, a lot of them actually happened. I can't say all of them happened, you know, because there was some in the background where, you know, soldier would jump in front of soldiers. That thing happened, but I'm not saying it happened the way that they portrayed it, but a lot of the big action sequences literally happened. So I don't know.
Have you guys seen the new Midway movie? It was Midway 2019.
Yeah.
Rob did. I haven't yet.
I just recently watched it. I don't know if I talked about it the last time we were here because I think I finished it last week, the week before that. I was really impressed, especially the way that it handled the Japanese side. It was fairly respectful, which kind of surprised me because usually like those movies like that, it's heavily one side or the other. It seemed fairly even-handed. I was really impressed. It even showed this one sailor who, he's a fighter pilot flying in the movie, ends up getting a bad mix of air, ends up permanently screwing up his lungs. Real story, guy actually happened. I was just really impressed. And it's 2 hours and 18 minutes. I actually think they could have made it longer. And I think, because at the end of the movie, I'm like, I want more. Come on, keep going. It was really well done. And doesn't John Wayne did a Midway, didn't he? I know he did Sands of Iwo Jima, which, by the way, another great movie if you haven't seen.
Well, I don't know. This is not RFR. I don't know. I didn't do any homework.
Well, James knows stuff like this. I was wondering if he knew because I don't remember if it was a remake.
It's all on you, James. Do you remember?
I think he did. It's been a long time since I've looked at his stuff, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he did a Midway movie.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, maybe. Okay, so it's since I'm hoping Ryan shows back up, but I don't think he's going to. I might bug him a little bit. I think it's with by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever used IMDb, it sucks right now. I don't know what happened to it, but whatever they did, they could stop.
Did some stupid update a while back.
And
it's never
Charlton Heston. It's Charlton Heston, Henry Fonda, James Coburn, and Glenn Ford. 1976. Yeah, 76. Okay, so that one's another good one. Charlton Heston was an amazing actor. Actually, Henry Fonda was too. Henry Fonda's in one of my favorite Abraham Lincoln movies. So anything interesting happened besides
what are you talking about for John Wayne?
I thought John Wayne did a Midway movie. I guess I was thinking Charlton Heston.
Not in 1976, he didn't.
No, I know, because he died in a couple of years later.
Okay, I was going to say, he died in 79.
Yeah, so sorry. For some reason, I thought he did it. I must have been thinking Sands of Iwo Jima, because he plays a fighter pilot in the movie, and I must have just gotten the wires missed the line. But I swear John Wayne did a movie like that, but I don't remember.
I don't know. I wasn't going to dig through his career. I thought he did, but I guess not. So beginning of November, this one kind of got swept under the rug by a bunch of other things going on. The Central Crime Branch, did you hear that they actually caught 10 drug peddlers off the dark web
No.
and seized $9 million in oh gosh, I just lost
Bitcoin.
the actual currency.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting that they caught them and then they actually arrested them off of the whole thing. It was pretty interesting that they caught them off the dark web, though. I don't hear very many things about that.
True. You some television shows jump in a little bit and talk about the dark web and what you can know the dark web, and they always go. It's always the bad evil side, which it mostly is. How's that way back?
I have no idea, but
that was bad.
They seized 660 LSD papers, 386 MDMA, 180 ecstasy tablets, 12 grams of MDMA crystal, 10 grams of cocaine, 12 mobile phones, 3 laptops, two two-wheelers, and
a partridge in a pear tree.
It's all of it worth around 9 million. I don't know if that's rubles. I think it is rubles, just the way they're holding it. The Indian rupee. The Indian rupee.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It was the Indian currency.
Isn't MDMA and ecstasy the same thing?
Yeah, but I think they're talking about the MDMA being in its non-pressed form versus ecstasy being in the tabs. So it only came out to be worth $121,000 in U.S. currency, but still, that's a lot of money.
I wonder what the penalty in India is for that.
Probably execution.
Because that would be a lot
or
here.
Not.
I mean, if that was here, as long as you're not in Oregon, that's a life sentence.
Yeah, Oregon.
Well, Oregon just kind of doesn't. Yeah.
So,
damn.
Wow.
I thought that was quite a bit of drugs that they found.
I have a feeling that things like this have been going on on the dark web, and the federal government in some form or other doing these things, and they just don't bring it up. I mean, they don't talk about it. They don't advertise it. I think
probably not.
Yeah, because I believe that the FBI has a whole cyber branch that's dedicated to just that. And
they had a TV show about it.
I kind of thought it was interesting that you got some news about a drug bust off the dark web, because I mean it's not something you see every day,
right?
Because didn't we just get a couple of $1 million or $1 billion worth of Bitcoin from something off the dark web too?
Well, that's what I thought the story was that James was talking about, but obviously it's a different story. But I agree. I wanted to say it was something like 9 or 10. See, now I can't remember if we're talking just millions or billions, but it was enough money. Let's just put it this way, that it put a big dent in the...
DOJ says it seized over $1 billion in Bitcoin from the Silk Road.
That was it. So, see, my brain is killing me. Yeah.
I am curious what they're going to do with $1 billion in Bitcoin. That's the part
they're going to go down to the local the gas station.
Go Sevens, let it ride.
We'd like to exchange this.
Biden needs a new pair of shoes. I'm kind of curious because that's the one thing, because I know it's
they'll bank it and double the money.
That's
we might be able to pay the debt off.
I'm kind of wondering,
debt off.
Are they going to? Everybody I hear saying they're going to auction off Bitcoin, which the idea of that makes me laugh. But if I were them, I would keep it because they don't have to give it back. there's no legal reason why they have to actually release it in the wild.
I would think they would want to make it in some form that they can actually put it in a real bank, and so they're going to have to launder the Bitcoin in some way or another.
I'm thinking there's some geek in glasses going, it's worth 5% more. Let's go now. You know, type of some dude in a fedora, overweight with a neck beard, is just there waiting for the right amount. Let's see. 2 days ago, about $1 billion worth of Bitcoin that had sat dormant since the seizure of the Silk Road marketplace in 2013, one of the biggest underground drug websites on the dark web, suddenly changed hands. Who took it? Mystery's over. It was the U.S. government. This is according to TechCrunch. In a statement Thursday, the Department of Justice confirmed that it had seized 70,000 Bitcoins, generated revenue from drugs sales on Silk Road from the hacker known as Individual X. At the time of the seizure Tuesday, the Bitcoin was worth $1 billion. They should just cash it now. I mean, if there's a legal way to do it. That's amazing.
Which
the Silk Road, I remember when it came out, it was what
I was trying to think of which law enforcement division are we talking about?
It just says U.S.
Government didn't talk about which one? FBI, DOJ. Doesn't say, huh?
No, says just says Silk Road at the time was one of the most sophisticated and extensive criminal marketplace on the internet. Per Justice Department statement in 2013, its founder, Administrator Rosh Ulbricht, was arrested and the state seized. Ulbricht was convicted in 2015, sentenced to 2 life terms, an additional 40 years. Holy shit, they basically threw the book out of him. That's what, 100 and something years?
How about that? So they could almost, depending on which agency it is, $1 billion, that'd run them for a number of years. Look at all the toys they could buy with that kind of money.
Bunch of Xboxes.
So
there you go, John. You get a free Xbox.
There you go.
I have one more, just because this was the most random headline I ran into.
Oh.
This is from the Huffington Post, but it's quasi horrible and hilarious. I cannot say this guy's name to save the life from me.
Then why do the story?
Brazilian man killed by a cow
By a cow.
that fell through his roof.
Oh, okay. All right, that's what we're talking about, I guess. A cow that came through the roof.
It's a great headline, and that's what caught me. It's like a Brazilian man died on Tuesday due to injuries sustained when a cow fell through his roof of his bedroom while he was sleeping. Lenny was Weil. It's Joao. Was sleeping.
Don't worry about saying his name. Just say a Brazilian man.
Yeah, that's fine.
A Brazilian man and his wife were sleeping in bed.
The wife survived?
When a 3,000-pound
That's what I
cow.
was thinking.
When a 3,000-pound cow crashed to the roof, reports the Telegraph. The cow is believed to escape from it.
Cow, man.
The cow is believed to escape from a nearby farm, then walked on the roof, which abuts a steep hill.
On the roof?
Upon unable to support the load, the roof caved in, at which point the bovine fell 8 feet onto the man's side of the bed. While his wife and the animal were fine, the gentleman suffered a fractured.
The animal were fine.
That's how it says.
Like
the man suffered a fractured leg and was taken to the hospital. After spending several hours at the hospital, the 45-year-old man passed away
from a broken leg.
Likely results of internal bleeding. He did have a 3,000-pound animal fall on him.
Yeah, but still, broken leg. Maybe you don't want to have a broken leg in Brazil.
I guess they put
Medical
him down.
treatment isn't that great.
Being crushed by a cow in your bed is the last way you'd expect to leave this earth.
Wow.
A Brazilian newspaper in transition provided Telegraph, but in my view, it wasn't the cow that killed our Brazilian man. It was the unaccepted time. I'm sorry. It was the unacceptable time he spent waiting to be examined.
See, I knew it was the medical treatment that killed him. It wasn't the
John,
cow.
Why are you laughing at this so much?
Because it's just ridiculous.
The poor guy died.
I just tells you, if you're going to go to Brazil, which I don't recommend in the first place, but if you're going to go,
Better than Venezuela.
Don't let not by much. Don't let the medical system kill you. The weight will kill you.
I have to be honest. It's a horrible way to die, but it's up there in ridiculousness. It's like the guy who died from being defecated on by an elephant. It's just the last thing you would expect some way to go. It's horrible. It's sad, and the worst part about this gentleman, the worst thing about this gentleman is
That was your timer, wasn't it?
he died horribly. I mean, a cow fell on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Okay. So, you guys collect coins at all?
Quasi.
Okay. Well, How about
I
pennies?
used to.
Do you ever look at pennies?
I've got a bunch of wheat
Sometimes.
pennies.
All right. So,
What about you, Ryan?
What am I flipping for?
pennies. Do you ever look at the change that you get when you go? Because we don't use change as much as we used to anymore. But
Generally not pennies so much. Although I sometimes will flip them over, see if I got some old
Wheat pennies.
yeah, the old wheat
All
pennies or something like that.
I got a new one for you guys to look for. All right, it's 1969 penny.
Party on, dude.
Could be worth about $130,000.
Really?
Yeah. So it was one of these best kept secrets. It was let me see if I can get to the details. It's a 1969 and it's an S mint marks. And it's because of an error while die casting the coin. They considered part of it to be a counterfeit scheme that was originally discovered in 1970, but the government later confirmed and found that the mint mark were indeed genuine. So apparently there is a 1969 S series double-dyed Lincoln cent coin that could net you somewhere around $130,000.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's known to be 40 of them out in the wild.
So they basically took them out of circulation because they thought it was part of some fraud thing?
Correct. Apparently, at first they thought it was some kind of counterfeit thing.
Wow.
The government came across it because they couldn't believe this actually came out of the mint. And then when they went to look at the die that was stamping this particular penny, it was indeed an error.
And it was after they had already pulled them, huh?
As many as they could, yeah. But
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So there's, so you got a chance. Some dude here not too long ago, a few years ago, actually got $70,000 for his, and they're saying now if you come up with one, it's worth about $130,000.
Wow, that's nutty.
1969 S series penny. That's what you guys need to
Now, does
look
S
for.
series mean it was minted in San Francisco?
That. You know what? They didn't say that in the article. That was my assumption, that S was San Francisco. But I'm not an aficionado any longer of coins and what coins are worth and what the stamps actually mean any longer, because I'm not sure San Francisco stamps coins anymore. I thought it was specifically just in Denver. And,
Yeah, but 69, it could have been.
Could have been.
I didn't think they were around
Anyway,
at that point.
so start looking at your pennies, guys. If you see a 1969, you might get excited.
So
I'll tell you what. Speaking of random coins, going through an old closet a couple weeks back, and I come across this coin that on one side had a Roman numeral. I can't remember what it was. It was like a 3 or a 5 or something like that. I don't recall. I had to go find it. On the other side of this, depicted a particular sex act.
Oh my!
Now, it immediately struck me because I saw the this odd shape on it. I'm like, the hell is that? And I kind of pulled it into the light, and I'm like, what on earth is going on? And it was like a solid metal coin. Okay, not like some like game coin or my first instinct was, oh, maybe this came from some old sex game or something like that, right?
you've had an interesting life.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, this is weird. So I Google sex coins.
And it's
Just
a
wondering
thing,
what would
huh?
come up. It is
If
so
they
a thing.
exist.
It's a
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
It is an absolute thing. Matter of fact, they have some really, really nice looking sex coins out there. Like some mint is putting together these coins that are like gold rimmed, silver plated on the interior with each with like the Roman
I see
numeral
it,
and the sex act on the other side. You seen them? Yeah.
So I know
Jonathan has
apparently-
popped it up on our screen. I see it.
I just Googled it, and the fact these are a thing, I'm not quite sure. Like the old comment, to salute it or
You
shoot
guys
it.
didn't know about this?
I've never heard
So
about it.
apparently these go back to about
These
circa
have been around for a while.
600.
The 1600s?
No, like 600.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so apparently the either the Greeks or Romans or both had these particular coins, and they found them through archaeological digs all over the place and stuff like that, but they've never really been able to associate them with a particular monetary value, or have any sort of like, quote, historical significance to them.
Are they called Neros?
I fucking wish. Caligulas.
I'll trade you 2 Caligulas for a Nero.
Oh my.
But, so the working sort of hypothesis with this is that they were this sort of subclass of coin of money.
Of course, they were a
currency.
Subclass. Yeah,
they're like a military challenge coin.
Well, I mean, so to speak, right? So the working hypothesis basically being that when like any particular sort of, let's say, illegitimate business such as a whorehouse, didn't take particular, current legal tender, they might have these coins that are sort of traded under the table or on the black market, so to speak, for these particular sex acts. And each of the monetary values on the other side, be it from one, I can't remember what they range from, like 1 to 9 or something like that. Each of them had a different sex act depicted on the other side, therefore leading people to believe that maybe this, like the number 3 with the, oral sex being depicted on the other side meant that for 3 of these, you get that.
Okay.
All
right, do you think you have an old
this is worth 1 blowjob?
Do you think you have an old original coin, or this is a
no,
pop off?
Absolutely not. This is definitely some reproduction, from many, many years after. But you can actually go online and see those neatly minted ones. But you can find like old Roman sex coins.
Well, I'm going to use one of my favorite lines regarding this: "A night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury." And that
well, what was it from that movie Men of Honor? Remember, gentlemen, that one night stands may be over in the morning, but syphilis lasts a lifetime.
Oh, just ask old Scarface. Well, I'm gonna bring it down just a tad bit, because really, how do you top that? About 2 Caligulas and a Nero give you an interesting evening.
Yeah.
Ken's now, geez, I don't even know how I transition. I need music.
How's this segue going from?
Hold on, I need
this one.
Need something. So if you guys don't know me, I'm a huge Scooby-Doo fan. It was one of the things I grew up watching. At any time after school, it was always on, so I'd always watch a couple episodes of it. Ken Spears, a Hanna-Barbera alum known for co-creating the characters of Scooby-Doo, died. According to his family, the veteran writer and producer passed away from compilations related to compilations. Well, hey, he died with a smile. He died with a smile on his face.
He must have one of those coins.
from complications.
Sorry, that's great.
From Lewy body dementia, which was the same thing.
I needed that. Thank you.
You're welcome. But from Lewy body dementia, which, if I'm not mistaken, was the same thing that our beloved Robin Williams had. And he didn't have.
Okay, I'm completely confused as to what the hell you're talking about now, John.
So let me restart. So can I need?
I'm sorry. I need restart.
I need a rewind. I need a rewind button.
Clarify.
So basically what happened is this gentleman worked for Hanna-Barbera and he co-created the characters of Scooby-Doo. He was a veteran writer and producer, passed away from Lewy body dementia at 82 years old. One of the reasons I brought it up is not only was he one of the basically co-founder of some of my favorite characters in history, but was involved in my opinion, one of the best animation houses in the country, in the world, was Hanna-Barbera. Who are both, Hanna and Barbera are both dead, been dead for quite a while. And so I was, what would you say, James?
Oh, I was going to say, I mean, yeah, definitely one of the most prolific, for sure. Now, I mean, look, as far as like the animation house and what those dudes put out was immense, and not, take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt, because obviously not everything you do can be spun into pure gold. However, their batting average definitely did include shit like Grape Ape and Sigmund the Sea Monster, which, if you watched any of those beyond you being 8 years old, are the most atrocious pieces of shit.
Hey, I actually liked Grape Ape. I really liked it.
When was the last time you've seen Grape Ape?
For at least 10 years.
I'm surprised it's been that recent, but I mean, there's no way you didn't look at yourself like, wow, I must have been a dumb 8-year-old watching this.
I've always been a fan of the medium, so for me it was just something I enjoyed.
For sure, yeah. Well, see, that's why I was always more of a Warner Brothers fan, because you can absolutely you can watch Bugs Bunny, and then later on when you're an adult, watch the Marx Brothers and be like, oh, this is the same thing. I understand this type of comedy, and all of these jokes were working on a few different levels, things like that. But stuff like your Grape Apes or the aforementioned Sigmund the Sea Monster are just the most on the surface, mindless sort of entertainment. It was just, they were churning stuff out, and again, all the props in the world to the animators for those things, because one, they did churn out some classics.
However,
be it the Flintstones, Yogi Bear, and those sorts of things.
They did do stuff that's on the verge of racist, if not racist. The Amazing Chan Clan, the Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan, which actually is a pretty cool cartoon. I've always kind of enjoyed it. It's about a family of Asians who are mystery solvers. So the 70s were really big and everything solved mysteries.
Did they do like Quick Draw McGraw and stuff too?
I'm pretty sure, like they did see Adam Ant, Banana Splits, Bernstein Bears, Birdman, the Galaxy Trio, CB Bears. I'm pretty sure I forgot they did Captain Planet and the Planeteers.
Oh, Captain Planet was Hanna-Barbera? Did I ever know that? I must have known that.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't think I knew that.
I'm pretty sure they did Quick Draw McGraw. I'm almost
Because if they
positive.
did, I loved me some Quick Draw McGraw, man. And then, what was it? I'll come up with it in a second. El Kabong.
Yes.
Yeah, that was some classic stuff.
This is
none of which you could do today.
No.
No.
So
unless you're a pro wrestler who gets to hit people over the head with guitars. That's funny.
Oh, man, you guys remember Secret Squirrel? Mm-hmm. Secret Squirrel never gets talked about.
Yeah, so Quick Draw
show.
McGraw was occasional appearance in other Hanna-Barbera. So he had his Hanna-Barbera.
Okay, cool. Yeah. He did kind of pop into a bunch of other people's things, or he would be some little interstitial between a couple other cartoons or something.
So they did things like Quick Draw McGraw, Johnny Quest, the 64 to 65, which is one of my all-time favorite cartoons, Johnny period. Which
only ran for the one season, which is amazing.
You want to know why?
I would love to know why.
So apparently it was so violent. There were a lot of people complaining to take it off the air. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So there's been actually 3 different versions of Johnny Quest, and I know this because I'm a cartoon fanatic. 64 to 65, there's an 80s one, and they introduced a character named Hard Rock. And later on, there was sometime in the mid-90s, there were the Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, and they were made by 2 different houses, 2 different animation houses. And you can tell because the animation between the 2 looked nothing fucking alike.
Oh, yeah. Well, Hanna-Barbera, I mean, regardless of when they made it, looks so specific. There's one thing that I've been looking for years, and I really can't find any sort of a compendium for it. Is the what was it called? It was the Flintstones Comedy Hour.
Oh yes.
You remember what I'm talking about? It was the kids were grown up. Pebbles and Bam Bam were teenagers. They lived next door to the like the Munster type family. I can't remember their names, but yeah, it was all just these random ass adventures. The fucking Shmoo made an appearance in like a half a dozen episodes. Barney and Fred were like cops in the mountains. They'd go off in some random adventure, in like the Middle East, and get like a genie. It was just so random from anything you'd ever seen with the thing, but it was way more like a variety show. And very, very 70s. Like the opening of the show had like Bam Bam and Pebbles rock band, which was
Yes.
very much like Josie and the Pussycats kind of style.
And
Remember
they had like the greaser characters. Or
that?
greaser
Yeah, right.
characters.
Yeah, the greaser characters. I think it was the Frankenstones.
That's right.
Must have been the Frankenstones. They were their neighbors.
And it's amazing to me, like, how much of these cartoons don't exist. Like, one of the reasons I actually know of them, part of it is because of Boomerang. They were
right. Yeah.
And this is one of the things I think is a bummer, because some of these cartoons are amazing. Because especially the 60s, when my dad was a kid, a lot of these cartoons had to have some sort of moral messages. I don't know what Johnny Quest. Some of them didn't. Johnny Quest definitely did not, unless it's okay with calling people savages and taking hallucinogenics. It was definitely big when we were kids. A lot of the cartoons definitely had, like G.I. Joe had the little thing at the end going, and knowing is half the battle.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, everything had to have that PSA. Well, to the point where, like, the early South Parks up until about maybe the 10th, 15th season, something like that, always had, like, Stan or Kyle at the end going, and I've learned something today, and they'd give some 30-second monologue about, why whatever they were doing was wrong or something like that. But I remember I used to try to convince my parents. My mom would walk by me watching The Simpsons or something like that, and the only thing that she would hear is Bart Simpson say hell or damn, right?
Of course.
So your kid is all of a sudden watching some filth on TV because it's the only thing she heard. And I'd be trying to convince her, like, no, Ma, you don't understand. They always have, like, a moral message at the end. They always learn something. And she's like, yeah, right, motherfucker. Like, don't try to sell that shit to me.
Ned Flanders, he's the whole soul of the show. I may have been wrong about the 60s era cartoons having moral messages. I may have been, but I thought they did.
No, I think they did.
There was one.
I think
that was the start of the government stepping in and saying that, the cartoons had to have a certain amount of
educational something
whatever,
or other.
Yeah.
So I completely forgot about this. Martin Short, if you don't know who he is one of my favorite all-time anything. What it's a voice actor, comedian.
Fucking Three Amigos for life, homie.
I love Martin Short. There's a character he did called Ed Grimley. I did not realize that was Hanna-Barbera.
That was Hanna-Barbera, Ed Grimley?
The Ed Grimley cartoon was Hanna-Barbera.
That's weird. Anytime I fuck my hair up, my dad always calls me Ed Grimley because I got like one thing sticking up in the front of my hair or something. He can't let that one go. It's been 30 years.
Well, if it makes you feel better, it's a reference nobody gets unless you're old.
Yeah, I mean, basically, and apparently I'm just old enough because he's been flipping me shit for it. I shit you not, 25 years now.
You should tell him that you remind him of Fibber McGee.
Fibber McGee, yeah, I used to get that one all the time. That one in frickin' Frack, which goes a little bit over my head, I got to tell you.
So, okay, tell you what. One
old.
of my favorite, even to this day, cartoons has always been the Addams Family.
Yeah.
Right? And the Addams Family and the Munsters actually kind of came out about the same time, both in black and white when I was a kid. Addams Family didn't last as long as the Munsters, which was interesting. But maybe Addams Family was too dark. But
you think?
In some ways. But I loved it. I mean, all the characters in the Addams Family are just iconic as far as I'm concerned.
Very much, yeah.
Yeah, and there was anyway, there's going to be according to Variety, a new Addams Family live-action TV series could be coming to television soon, which would be interesting.
I would be excited to watch that.
So here's a question, and I sincerely mean this. They're going to play this like the guy who originally played in the 60s, Addams Family. I don't remember his name, but he was a comic genius for the character, between putting lit cigarettes in his pocket to all sorts of stuff.
His cigars.
And
Gomez always had a very long cigar. And in every scene, he was lighting a new cigar. And that was I forgot the name of the cigar company that was a product placement, one of the very early actual product placements, Dutch Brothers. And he always had a Dutch Brothers cigar, and he was always lighting a new one. And they lined the pocket of his jacket with asbestos so he could just keep sticking them in there.
So Here's
there's a relic of a bygone era right
Yeah,
there.
huh?
People hear that are my age, they're like, I'm sorry, they did what?
So that's my
And
question.
then it was 3 months later that he got mesothelioma,
Yeah,
right? And
right,
he's in a
well.
class action lawsuit now.
Yeah.
So that's my question: is John Aston, who was Gomez Adam, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, or are they
Yes,
going to
yes,
do
yes.
it like Raw Julia? And here's my problem.
I was just going to bring up Raul Julia as really stealing the thunder from the original show because his Gomez was so fucking pitch perfect as far as I'm concerned.
See, here's going to be my only disagreement is they're the Addams Family in names only, because the 60s one was kooky and it had that 60s kookiness to it and it made it a lot of fun.
I mean, it was in the theme song.
And this is true.
Yes.
And the Addams Family Raw Julia fit the 90s because it had that dark, brooding sense of humor. But
a sense of humor nonetheless, though.
But yes, but here's my question. Are they going to do it like completely different? Because you can't,
No, they're actually saying it's a reboot, and they're gonna play it like
the 60s
like it
kooky?
was. Yeah, it's gonna be.
And I'll tell you what, there's been a few different versions of it, and I've actually really enjoyed all the different versions. I think it's one of those shows that you very much can update to the times. The characters, like you were saying before, are very iconic. So as long as those core characteristics are the same, you can have Wednesday with a brand new iPhone 10, or Gomez, or doing whatever like a modern day father would be doing in 2020. You can absolutely update it and have it just be the new adventures of the new Addams Family.
So did you guys realize the original Gomez Addams is still alive?
Is he really?
Yeah.
So John Allen Aston, A-S-T-N,
Mm-hmm.
he's 90, March 30th, 1930.
God damn. And then we lose Raul Julia when he's, 40?
Yeah.
That was a tragedy.
Yeah, that was.
The real tragedy, aside from him dying, is that the last thing he did was Street Fighter.
I think, I heard, I read something about it, and I don't actually feel bad about it, because he said he did it for a payday.
I mean, look, he was the most legitimate part of that movie. He stole that shit really well, like better than the movie deserved.
Or because Jean-Claude Van Damme was coked out of his mind, according to all his co-stars. But
oh, is that right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So after I read he did it for a payday for his family, and I'm like, it's a crap movie, but now I don't think it ruins the legacy of an actor because he did it for the right reasons. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now I kind of want to watch it. If there's a way to send a couple of bucks to his family again, I would.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty badass. But yeah, apparently he was coked out of his mind. Apparently he was a real pain in the ass to work with. But apparently he's just a giant druggie. John Von Claude Van Damme apparently is just a giant pain in the ass. I've never heard anybody say.
Or at least was.
I've heard he's still fairly difficult.
Really? I mean, what is he? Does he even
what would give him the
anymore?
Come on.
Oh, apparently him and the Green Ranger almost got into a fight.
He's
which is
legend in his own mind.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is funny because Jason David Frank, who played the Green Ranger in the Power Rangers, versus Jean-Claude Van Damme, I think I'd actually have to take Jason David Frank, who.
Well, Jason David Frank actually did fight MMA for a little while. He wasn't very good because he's going up against killers.
Van Damme's an old man by now, anyway.
Well, he was also
old.
That's
the thing is, he was probably in his late 30s when he started in the MMA game.
Yeah, and Jean-Claude Van Damme is like Rob said, he's old.
He's an old man now. Yeah.
But yeah, there's apparently those two almost got in a fight. It's like, I would almost.
Although Chuck Norris would still kick his ass.
Yeah, Chuck Norris. Yeah, he's one of two. I think him and Jason David Frank or somebody else are the only people who have that level belt in that style.
Chuck Norris was the real deal, and apparently is still, for being in his late 60s, early 70s, is still apparently a pretty badass.
Yeah, he's definitely always been considered like, his movies, you can say what you will about those, but this dude will legit beat your ass.
Legit, man.
But
it was the real thing.
No effing around. You will not get a shot off on this guy. He's going to fuck you up.
That's right.
Here's an amazing thing. We actually have a tie-in in our local area. He's been to a couple local area restaurants and few things around here, and everybody I've talked to who has met him around here says he's a sweetheart of a fella.
Oh, I bet.
He vetted. there's a world famous restaurant, and I shit you not, world famous restaurant around here called Poor Reds. We've met people halfway around the world who mention, oh, Poor Reds. It's like,
we were in France when we ran into some people that said, where are you from? And we said, and they go, oh, Poor Reds. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. So, I mean, Chuck Norris actually owns some property around here. So it's kept kind of quiet, but I think it's in Somerset. I think he owns a vineyard.
So I thought it was funny. We've been all over the place, and people have mentioned it. So and apparently he stopped by there, and a lot of people said he's just a nice guy, which is something I've universally heard. I've never heard anybody speak ill about him.
Yeah.
Besides his action pants.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's okay.
Hey, everybody's got to have a gimmick. It just his happens to be, pants with, stretchy crotches. Oh, one more thing before we wrap up. Justice League is being reshot. Well, see, that's Zack Snyder's. They
Snyder Cut.
Yeah, so what it is, they changed directors midway through.
Right.
So, look.
Well, they changed directors about 85% of the way through.
Oh, really? I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah, so basically, Zack Snyder had shot basically all of principal photography. And when basically his daughter died, like just fucking tragically. Yeah, I mean, heartbreaking, kind of just life-changing moment. He stepped away. Joss Whedon came in, reshot a bunch of things, and then edited the movie in a completely different way than he was planning on doing it. So ever since then, ever since he left the project, everybody in the world has been calling for the Snyder Cut. So HBO fucking picked it up.
And Josh Whedon probably killed the franchise, along with apparently being racist amongst other things, according to some of the people in the movie. The guy who
I don't know how much I believe that shit, but
Well, racism is always a charge people use. But the guy who played Cyborg said they changed his skin tone. There's a bunch of other stuff I've read. Apparently, Josh was difficult to work with, but who really knows? But just want to tell you guys, if somehow in the future you come across it, you got to watch it, because apparently it's supposed to be nuts.
So what they're planning on doing, and they've been kind of back and forth on what the actual plan is, because HBO thought they were just going to release it as a movie, but then Zack Snyder's talking about, if it's a movie, it's going to be about 4.5 hours long. So I think the current working theory is that they're going to do it as a miniseries.
Hell yeah.
But he said that Zack Snyder came out, and when they announced that they were doing the actual Snyder Cut, first of all, the world collectively lost their mind.
Quite literally.
But he said that you have not seen any of this movie. He's like, what? This movie will be unrecognizable to what you saw in the theater.
Yeah. Hey, I got one little bit finished just to close out, because you were talking about Scooby-Doo. And remember I talked about Addams Family. Mm-hmm. Did you know that there's an Addams Family tie-in with Scooby-Doo?
Yes. They did an episode where the Scooby-Doo met the Addams Family.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Did they ever do one where Addams Family met the Harlem Globetrotters, though?
No.
Not the
You know what the most interesting thing about that, and there'll be the last tidbit, is some of the episodes of Scooby-Doo where they meet the celebrities, those rights don't necessarily belong to whoever owns Hanna-Barbera. Like the Scooby-Doo met the Batman and Robin, those rights belong to somebody else, which I don't know how that works, but I was really fascinated to learn that. So
I'll bet you, because Warner Brothers was not about to give away the rights, likeness rights to any of their characters to Hanna-Barbera.
Probably. There was probably a license extension where after so many periods of time it reverts to yada, yada, yada.
Who knows? Anyway.
So any final statements before the old guy turns into a pumpkin?
It's been fun. It's been real.
Nope. Buy sex coins.
Oh, and 1969
pennies.
S pennies.
Send them care of Old Guy Tech.
That's right. That's right. Send them all in. Any penny. Don't even look for the S. Just
don't even look at it. Just send us your pennies.
Just send me any of 1969 penny. That'll be fine.
We'll sift through them and we'll let you know if they're worth anything.
That's right.
Just be like Soupy Sales. Send it in an envelope and send it our way.
That's right. And that's another reference we'll have to talk about another day.
So like Fibber McGee's Closet, this episode is coming to a crashing end. So ladies and gentlemen, for the California Pariah, Jonathan Charney, James, the Fat Man Stevens, Ryan, who the hell is this, Preston, and the old guy.
Hey, old guy.
As always, thank you for listening.
Goodbye.